I'm really, really excited to be able to share the ANZ Opportunity Asia report. It's a survey of 1,000 businesses in Australia and their activities and intentions in the Asia market. We've been doing this research for the last 4 years, and I've combined this with case studies and industry research. I've read 100 white papers to write this report, and I'm really excited because I think it's a really useful and insightful piece of research that really can help Australian businesses succeed overseas.
Let's go. With Guy Thompson, Strategic Initiatives Manager for International Business Development with ANZ, to talk about discovering the next stage of growth in Asia, an amazing report he's been working on for quite a considerable amount of time now. Could you tell us more?
Thanks, Phil. Yes, my role here with ANZ is to work with companies in what you would say the mid-market, small to medium enterprises, and to help build business capability so they have more confidence to be able to expand and grow. And one of the initiatives that we've been working on is the Opportunity Asia report, which is a survey of 1,000 businesses in Australia around their activities and intentions in the Asia market.
And how did you go about this survey? How big has been the body of work?
We partner with EY Sweeney to do the survey research, so that's conducted by phone and sort of online. And then once we have all the research data back, we look at the trends, which have been over the last 4 years we've been doing this research, and then I sort of go out and I look for additional industry information and industry trends to back up what people are saying in the report in the survey, because we've got sort of a group of 1,000 people responding, and I want to make sure that the trends and things that we're identifying in that matches up with the statistics that you're seeing through large trade flows and other stuff that's happening, whether it be logistics and e-commerce or sort of middle class expansion, China, ASEAN. There's a lot of big trends, and I just wanted to make sure that what people are responding to is sort of what's matching in the industry as well.
And I believe you've been validating this information yourself by organising trade delegations and going into the ASEAN region. Could you tell us more?
That's correct. So each year our team runs trade delegations up to Asia, and we work with ANZ customers and also businesses who aren't even ANZ customers at all. And we take them up to Asia, and we go around different cities to try and understand what's happening on the ground. We meet local experts, and we get the sort of the best ideas about what's happening in the market and get a real feel for what's happening in those cities. So as an example, last year in October we went to Shanghai and Singapore, and we launched the report in Singapore. And our focus for that delegation was around food and beverage and fast-moving consumer goods. And those products especially have been very, very popular in Asia for a long time. They're synonymous with the clean, green and healthy image of Australia and New Zealand. And our mission is really to go up there and to meet those local experts, see what it feels like on the ground, and make sure that the trends that we're identifying are matching up with what's actually happening in those cities. And one of the interesting things we find about that is often you'll get very successful companies who are exporting a product from Australia, and sometimes the senior management from those companies hasn't had enough time to go up to China or Singapore in the last few years. So it's great to go up with them on the ground and see their reaction and see how it can improve their strategy, and really they can sort of work with each other and work with other companies to move forward.
And we were discussing various hubs, and it talks about the variation in hubs of basically an Asian landing area. Anecdotally, we were having a chat about Singapore. Could you share some of the insights you have around Singapore as a trading hub?
Absolutely. One of the key trends that I was wanting to identify in this report was China dominates trade statistics for a number of different reasons, and the population of 1.4 billion people is obviously something that you can't deny, but the population of the ASEAN bloc, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, as a group, there's 10 different countries in that group, and that population's around 650 million. So you've actually got a really, really large population. This is countries like Malaysia, Philippines, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Indonesia, and they all have really, really large populations. And Indonesia, for example, is 260 million people, and it's just across from Australia. So all of those countries are experiencing really good growth in middle-class consumers, and all the kinds of products that we're selling out of Australia and New Zealand are really popular in those countries. And one of the advantages to going in through a hub like Singapore is that Singapore has been responsible for trading with all of those countries for the last 70 years. So you have a real advantage to be able to go up to Singapore and use that as your entry point. And we've worked with several other businesses who are trying to sort of negotiate individually with Thailand and Malaysia and the Philippines, and to actually work with experts in Singapore who are responsible for some really large multinational companies who run their whole Asia base out of Singapore is a real advantage for us. And we've got a really great team in Singapore. It's really fantastic to be able to work with them and then help companies here connect with the whole market and sort of use one point of access. So that's been really useful for us.
Wonderful. There's so much data in the report. I highly recommend you have a look at it, obviously, and you'll find the
72 pages, so it took a while.
And you'll find the link in the bottom of this video description. One of the key things for me in there, right up the front, it said that there's something required, like 987,000 staff are required in the next 3 years to support Australia's Asia expansion. Could you talk to that?
So the interesting thing that we found is by surveying companies through small, medium, large, we were able to find whether or not they had hired staff previously in the last 3 years to support their Asia expansion and whether or not they're intending to hire staff going forwards. Once we had those numbers, we asked EY Sweeney to extrapolate that against the Australian Bureau of Statistics figures around employment and trade statistics and employment growth, and we found that the need for the amount of companies that are trading internationally and focusing on Asia is really big. So it doesn't matter if you're a services business, if you're in logistics, if you're in manufacturing, the demand for products and services in Asia means that more staff are required in Australia. So the number that we came out with based on those that extrapolation is 927,000 over the next 3 years, and many of those will be full-time staff. They might be part-time, might be contractors and consultants, but either way, this opportunity for Australia and New Zealand to take advantage of trade in Asia in the next few years is a wonderful opportunity, but it's not a magic thing that just happens. People need to make it happen, so companies will need to scale up and improve the amount of staff they have to be able to take advantage of the opportunity.
And stay tuned, because there'll be another segment to this interview, and as we talk about essentially what is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity from a geopolitical standpoint, could you give us a bit more on that?
Absolutely. I'm sort of a bit of a cheerleader for trade in Asia, and I really believe that we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to take advantage of the demand for products from Australia and New Zealand in Asia. The destabilisation that we're seeing in USA, the UK and the EU, politically, economically, from trade, means that there's a vacuum. There's an opportunity here that Australia and New Zealand can supply everything that Asia needs. Any kind of product that we can produce, we can sell there. The focus needs to be on premium goods. We're not a bulk producer of anything, perhaps except iron ore. So for any kind of product, we need to focus on premium, high quality, safe, healthy, and that's where the demand is. Growing families all across Asia, that's the key things that they're looking for, and the opportunity for us to be able to supply those products now and get ahead of the UK, the US and the EU, who've actually always been quite good at producing those kind of products at scale. We've got a really, really good opportunity to do that now, because the economic and political landscape in the West might look very different in 5 or 6 years' time. It might be a lot more balanced, and we'll realise that we actually missed the opportunity to get in there, and those countries with much bigger resources and much bigger workforce populations than we have actually beaten us to it. So this moment we have in the next few years is absolutely crucial for Australia and New Zealand to cement that relationship that we have with Asia. And even if you just want to talk about China specifically, New Zealand has had a free trade agreement with China since 2008, and Australia's has been in place since 2015, and that covers hundreds and hundreds of different products and categories. And so any company in Australia or New Zealand who's producing those products needs to make that a priority to get those products to Asia and to China especially.
Right. Stay tuned.
See ya.